Hey, brothers and sisters. Today I wanted to encourage you to have courageous faith. Courageous faith. In these last days, we're facing very fearful times, times that cause us to doubt and question God's plan for our lives. And as we continue to look for our blessed hope in which Jesus will come to rescue us, we must stand firm and endure to the end. And I wanted to encourage you today to continue to stay obedient to the Lord and have courageous faith. I've been reading a book called Extravagant, Living Out Your Response to God's Outrageous Love. And this book really highlights how to step out and basically base jump for Jesus. How to leap out in faith and have courageous faith. And I wanted to read some of the excerpts from this book because I think you'll find it encouraging and challenging at the same time. So it says here, quote, "Until someone finds the courage to take a step to obey, the dam of unbelief and passivity holds the miracle back. As we see more of who God is, more of His incomparable power and love, our motivation to obey changes, and our desire to obey intensifies. With new insights about His character and His purposes, we don't surrender to Him with clenched teeth. We humbly bow and follow His leading because we're convinced He is supremely trustworthy, even when we don't know where He is leading us. In our day, the concept of obedience has become very unpopular because people see it as infringing on the right to make their own choices. We live in a world of radical self-reliance and self-expression, and we resent anyone, family member, employer, government, pastor, or God, who asks us to sacrifice it all. As long as we hold this view, however, we won't be disciples of Jesus. Instead of insisting on our own rights, when we grasp the depth of the gospel of grace, we realize that we have nothing apart from Him. We belong to Him, heart, body, mind, and soul. Instead of resenting His invitations and interpreting His instructions as demands, we look for ways to please Him. Now listen to what he says about having courageous faith. When our hearts belong to Jesus, we're willing to take any risk, give any possession, talk to any person, stand up for any truth, go anywhere, and do anything He wants us to do. It's popular in some Christian circles to focus on prosperity and the promises of God's blessings. While I believe in God's desire to bless us, that's only half the truth. He also leads us into darkness and sacrifice. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I wonder if you really understand the whole message of the gospel. God not only comforts the afflicted, He also afflicts the comfortable. No one is immune. Many Christians who have walked with God during tough times recount that their times of deepest intimacy with God and most significant blessings were during or after experiences of suffering and sacrifice. They realized it was precisely those painful moments that drove them to the heart of God. That's why He leads people into darkness, so that we'll take His arm and lean on Him like never before. Far too many of us avoid trouble at all costs. We spend our time and money on things to protect us from harm. There's nothing wrong with taking measures to protect our families and ourselves, but Jesus calls us to bring His kingdom to earth as it is in heaven. That means we graciously share the gospel with unbelievers. We provide care for the hurting people. The compassion to care for others can only be learned by our own experiences of finding God, to be kind and near in times of suffering. Risk is an essential ingredient in a life of extravagant devotion to God. Some of us are adrenaline junkies who love to live on the edge all the time. I'm not advocating this kind of lifestyle for most people. But all of us are called to get out of our comfort zones from time to time and do something great for God. Although no one can write a prescription for courageous faith that fits all of us, God will direct us to a hurting person or a desperate need at the right time. So, I wanted to share those quotes from the book because this book in particular has really challenged me to step out in faith and do something courageous for God. And it is scary. I'm not going to deny the fact that it's scary. Sometimes your flesh just cries out and says, God, this cannot be. This cannot be what you're calling me to. I can't possibly go through this. But we are encouraged in the words of Jesus in John 15. I am the vine and you are the branches. He who abides in me will bear much fruit. And at the end of the day, that's what we have to realize. It is God in us who wills and acts according to his good purpose. And it also tells us to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. And brothers and sisters, we're going to go through seasons of our life where we are fearful and trembling. But take comfort that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion until that day. And because it says in Hebrews 12 that Jesus is the author and finisher of our faith, we can take comfort in knowing that Jesus is the one who authored our salvation, and Jesus is the one that's going to finish it. And he will never leave us nor forsake us, and he has never seen the righteous begging for bread. He is truly Jehovah Jireh. And for me, as I'm going through this season, for me personally, it is a financial season where I'm having to trust God with finances. And it is extremely difficult. But I know in my heart I'm being obedient. And it's a very uncommon season in my life where he is calling me to radical obedience and courageous faith. And so today I just wanted to encourage you, brothers and sisters, with that word. And again, leave any comments for what the Lord may be doing in your life. I'd love to counsel you. I'd love to pray for you. And with that said, I just want to say again, Maranatha.